Here is a game in the 15-minute pool, and let's see how this goes. I'm going to try to give my thoughts along the way, and my opponent's taking a little time to get started here, but that's okay. It's his clock. Oh, and here we see he's starting with d4. So I'm going to play knight to f6 and e6. I'm aiming for a Queen's Gambit Declined. Okay, he plays a3. This is kind of an odd move. Um, and I'm just going to follow through here and play d5. I was not quite, I mean, this can transpose into a lot of things. I'm going to play kind of a semi-Slav, keep things fairly flexible here. Okay, so kind of Queen's Gambit Declined. He plays this a3 move maybe to just throw me out of book, but it's not really a big deal to me. My setup's pretty solid, and not really too worried about what he's going to do here. Okay. After he plays bishop to d3, I like to take here on c4 to make him use a tempo, and then I simplify the position a little bit with this move. So he's kind of forced to exchange here. And I take back with the queen. Okay, and he's exchanging here with the knight. And then when I take back here, I get a tempo because he's got to move his piece now. And now the point here is that I have a very comfortable game. This is kind of a Queen's Gambit exchange variation, and I'm very happy with my position. Okay, let's go ahead and pin this knight. Okay. So things are definitely fine for me at the moment. Some ideas you might have is to try a minority attack, and also an idea of playing this knight here to e5, but I'm not really too worried about that, to tell you the truth. Um, I think I'll just improve the position of this rook. At some point I could play c5 if I want to. A lot of ideas here. I could even bring this bishop back to f5 if I want to keep it on the board here, or I'm happy to exchange my bishop with his. Maybe putting my knight here on e4 with some attacking ideas. Okay, and as I said before, that is fine with me. And here might be a good opportunity to undermine this knight. So I get an isolated pawn out of the deal, but depending on how he handles this, he might get one as well. Also, if I do take here and he takes back, then I can pin. This knight is kind of pinned against the queen at the moment. So some tactics there. For example, here. And then I can play this back here, and you can see now it's still, he can't take it because I'll take his queen, and I have f6 in the cards next. So, okay, that is fine with me. How do I want to handle this? Well, I could just go ahead and put my own knight back on e4 because he doesn't have a pawn to attack it anymore, like this. And if he wants to sacrifice the exchange, I am happy to oblige. In the meantime, I can think about putting my own pressure on this weak pawn with, say, something like queen to c7 to b6, or queen to d6 to b6, something like that. And so this knight can just sit here for a while because you can't do anything about it. Okay, let me grab the open file. And right now there are no real threats here. And I'm just kind of leaving his knight there because he can't do anything at the moment. And in the meantime, I can go ahead and find something else to do. So I want to get over here to b6. So let's play queen to d6. Planning to put it here, putting pressure on these two pawns. So even though I like the position of my knight, it can't be kicked out. His position isn't really horrible at the moment either. Okay, what's his idea? Well, he could be looking to attack f7. Oh, okay, he's got a double attack here, which is fine. How do I want to handle that? Well, I have to deal with it. I could just take, then he takes, then I could play here. I think that's probably the easiest way to handle it. And then he'll get the c file, but right now I am forking these two pawns, so he's got to deal with that. And he has to be very careful because his queen is in a precarious position as well. So he has to defend this pawn, I think, first. Can he defend both? He can. Well, nope, he can't defend both. So he has to pick which one he wants to defend. I have to be careful about my back rank. You can play something like rook to c8 at some point. But he has to deal with my threat first, I think. At some point I might want to play something like h6. Okay. So here, well, I got to check in here first. And then, okay, well, here's a good checkmating pattern here. I'm going to play queen to d5 check. If he plays his king here, then I could play knight to h6 check, double check. Okay, well, let me just show you. Queen to d4 check. Now, of course, if he plays his king to f1, okay, and then here, I think this is correct. Knight to f2 check. Double check, and then when he plays back here, I play here, and then good old smothered mate. So anyways, that was kind of a neat little tactic. So anyways, that's a couple games we played there. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and we'll do a quick little analysis afterwards. So the second position to look at is right here, and here I made a bit of a positional mistake. Here my opponent had just played f4, and then I played c takes d4. Let me just show you that. And then my opponent plays e takes d4. The problem with this move is that uh, it relieves my opponent of really the only weakness he has, or actually the major weakness he has, which is this backward e3 pawn. This pawn is backward because he can't advance it without my capturing it here. And because I have this knight on here as well, he would just lose a pawn. And if he ever moves this knight, now I'm able to attack it with my heavy pieces. So by taking on d4, I allow him to get rid of his weakness. Now, what should I have done instead? A couple options, and I think they're both decent. The first one would be to advance this pawn to c4. And by the way, the idea here is that I initially played this to contest this pawn here before he played f4. Now that he's played f4, there's no reason to, him taking my pawn on c4 is no longer a problem for him, or c5 that is. The other thing here, by advancing it, is that I don't allow him to isolate this pawn. And then what he might do is, just conceptually, I'm not sure if this is the best move, but if he were to attack this pawn, then I could do a couple things. Of course, I could advance it, but then it comes under attack by his pieces. Or I could play something like b5. And I think both of these, and then after b takes c4, I'd probably play something like b takes c4 because I don't want to take with the d pawn necessarily and allow him to have this passed pawn here. So it gives me a passed pawn, and I have this firm grip on the e4 square. So it would definitely give me an advantage, I believe, in this type of position. The other option, which I don't think is quite as good, is b6. Because then he can capture here, and then we have hanging pawns. This isn't necessarily a advantage or disadvantage. Typically, white would put his rooks on the c and d files to attack these pawns. So it does give white some counterplay as well. And also the fact that at some point he might contemplate pushing the e4 pawn now, although at the moment it's still a weakness. So definitely, I think not as good, but maybe a little bit better than what I played in the game. However, just to go back to the game, this position is even, I think. The pawns are symmetrical. The only real tiny edge I might have in this position is that I could get my knight here without him being able to kick it out with a pawn, whereas I can always play my f pawn here. But I really can't say that that's a decisive advantage. Okay, this is the next position, and actually we're going to look at this from white's point of view. Here white played queen to h3, attacking this rook, which allows me to gain the edge after rook takes c1, queen to b6, because now I'm attacking these two pawns, and then allow the eventual combination of the game. What could white have done instead? I think he's got a few, well, let's go back a move, and really he's got a couple moves here. He can go ahead and take this rook off, and then after rook to c8, he can do a few things. He can go ahead and play that queen to h3, attacking it, although again, I don't think it's really that big of a deal. And then if we go back, instead of taking the rook, he could also play queen to b3, attacking my pawn here, because now I'm the one who has the weaknesses as well. And this is the thing with these symmetrical pawn structures, is that it really comes down sometimes to who can get at their opponent's weaknesses first or with the most force. So that forces me to protect it or do something else. I can, let's say we exchange here just to clarify things, and now if I were to say, I might attack his knight first to get that out of the way, and after he retreats it, just play something like queen to d7. But really, this position, again, is fairly even. I mean, he could even play something like knight to c5, for example, although we might not do it in this particular position. But the idea is, had he played this position would have been balanced and even. Finally, just want to quickly review this checkmating pattern. It's something you definitely should know. I've been able to pull it off a lot of times. It's always very pleasing when I do. And it starts off here, queen takes d4 check. Of course, if he goes here to f1, he gets checkmated. But when he goes into the corner, like he did in the game, then we have this combination. Knight to f2 check, forcing king to g1, and then knight to h3 double check. And again, can't go to f1 because he's going to get mated. So after king to h1, the key move here, queen to g1 check, forcing rook takes g1, and then that beautiful smothered mate with knight to f2. So definitely something to have in your memory banks. Happens a lot more often than you think, especially if you know the pattern. And again, this is why it's important to have those checkmate patterns pretty well entrenched in your memory. Okay, and we will finish up here. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please press the like button. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel for future updates. Also, feel free to leave a comment, especially if you have any constructive criticism about my play. I am on this journey of chess improvement with you, and I know I have a long way to go, and sometimes it's painful, I have to admit, but if we don't face our mistakes and try to improve them, we won't progress either in chess or in life. So with that in mind, I look forward to our next video, and good luck with your chess.